crossing barriers in communication. There's several of them, and part of it is you want to make certain that you aren't creating them and that you're doing all you can to bridge them. There's language problems. We have a huge multicultural society, and if you have people from a different country and they learn the values over there, even if they learn the English language over there, just make the assumption, though, that they're going to have different setups and different aspects, different ways that they express themselves that are not the regular ones. I have a good friend of mine, and we would go to a conference, and on a regular basis, she was from Japan. She says, finally one day, she says, David, just, I came here from Japan when I was 14 years old. So whenever you make a pun or a joke, I don't get it half the time. And that's why I ignore you when you make those things. I don't know what you mean, because in my country, the words mean something and you're doing all these one-offs with these puns. I don't even understand it. Well, I got the message. It's a language problem and it's a cultural difference. She speaks perfect English, except for the fact that she doesn't get the American humor. But I've heard that puns aren't necessarily humor. Anyway, so vocal intonation differences. There's some people, they talk really quiet. Some people talk really fast. I don't know if you ever heard anybody talk really fast. It's possible that maybe I talk too fast. No, please don't tell me it hurt my feelings. Okay, because I have sensitivity too. Okay, so sometimes silence is a big thing. Now, silence is a powerful tool. I have been on a phone call and somebody, you tell them and they say, well, my position is, I think you should allow me to do this. And then they go quiet, expecting you to respond. Here's something. You don't have to respond. You don't have to. Just because you're being quiet doesn't mean you have to fill it up with your own words. It's a wonderful trick to use. I've used it before. I just says, well, this is what the contract says, and you go quiet. And let them fill in the silence. It's always kind of fun. So I had this one gal, I said, this is what we're doing. And she sat there, says, well, she gave me her excuse list and everything else, and she went quiet. And I went quiet. We had 3 minutes of total silence on there. I says, well, just so you know, I am doing this, and this is how we're going forward. You can be quiet all you want. I says, but that doesn't change anything just because you decided you're not going to talk. Well, I thought that you would. Okay, so it's just kind of so the silence is one of the most powerful tools in communication. Don't fall for it. Maybe use it your own personal trick. There's some nonverbal differences that people have. There's also differences in gender. Shh, don't tell anybody. Women and men don't always talk and mean the same thing. Women tend to be much more effective communicators than men because they talk about the emotions and how they feel. Men tend to be very linear and they talk straight line and they just roll over people's emotions. They tend to be a lot more difficult. Not me, of course. I've learned both, so I can communicate both ways. Yes. Really, there is a difference. A lot of times men talk by facts and data. Women talk rapport. They want to build a relationship. They'll give advice. They'll have requests indirectly. Men are very blunt and very active voice. Women tend to be passive voice. The men, dominant power style, and the woman, the differential conversation style. You've all heard the thing of if a woman says that, she's one of these things over here. If a guy says that, he's strong and assertive. Yeah, unfortunately, that is the common perception by human beings because, well, we're humans and we're going to fall for that for a while until we get over it. Men, they apologize a lot less often. Some of them never apologize their entire life. Women will apologize more often. It just depends upon the relationship. A lot of times men, when they get into differences, they settle it once and for all. They may accept the person for being a jerk or whatever it is in their own mind, where women may tend to carry that a little bit longer. It just depends. It is impossible to generalize between them, with the single exception that women tend to be more concerned about the other person's emotions than men in the process. Other than that, I hate to go into too much detail because somebody out there says, well, he's picking on the men. Actually, I am. I think women are better communicators than men. But anyway, try to empathize as best you possibly can with the person you're talking to. Sometimes you repeat the message. Did you hear that? Sometimes you repeat the message. Did you catch that? I repeated. Anyway, okay. So use timing effectively. Sometimes when you're talking to somebody, they are going a mile a minute and you can't get a word in edgewise. So after a while, you just kind of sit there and fold your arms, because folding your arms is nonverbal communication. We're not listening to them, and they might get it after a while. Are you done yet? Can I talk now? Well, I got to finish this one more thing. Well, you've been saying one more thing now for the last 10 minutes. I need to talk. Okay, so use your time effectively. Be descriptive. This whole thing, the active listening process is a big thing. Sensing, evaluating, and responding. You really want to get the feeling as to what the person is saying. You'll get that from the nonverbal communication. You'll get that from the facial expressions. You want to keep the evaluation of what is all being said until they're done talking. Avoid interrupting them. Maintain interest. Give them eye contact. You know, one thing I don't know about you. I was raised in front of a television set, and my mother would sit there and say, "Go watch television." So I go watch television. I was trained to sit down there and pay attention to a screen. So whenever I see a screen, my eyeballs rotate to the screen and I ignore everybody else in the room because I've been trained that way. I had to break the training one day when my wife grabbed me by the chin and she says, "I'm talking to you." Oh, hi. Okay, so that happens. Do the same for yourself, but don't have somebody grab you by the chin. Do it yourself. Okay, evaluate, organize the information in your own head, and then respond to show interest what was said. We call this active listening, but really, here's a nice chart. Active listening means try to block out everything and focus in on what the person in front of you is saying. Look them in the face, watch their lips, watch their eyes, watch the nonverbal communication. Pretend that person in front of you is the most important thing in the world, and that's active listening. It's great listening, by the way, and you will become a better communicator, I promise. Workspace design, make certain you pay attention to how workspaces are designed. The open areas, open office concept. Do you have a team space to meet? You really want to have a whole series of different ways of communicating. Real-time news for employees on enterprise platforms. They're replacing company news. They're pretty much the same thing, just a different type of format. And a lot of times, direct communication with management. I do like town hall meetings. You get everybody together and you lay out a new initiative so everybody's on the same page with the same message. Then you open it up for meetings and you talk about different things. And I like that whole thing. There's an old saying, and it is so old that it's trite almost, but management by walking around talking to people really is effective, and people like that. That's a good way to communicate. The grapevine, okay, the grapevine's real, okay? It's an informal information process, an informal organization underneath the formal organization. Use it to your advantage. Listen to people, look for comments and snide remarks or whatever on social media and different trends. Try to fill in the missing information. Don't be oblivious because it's not the official corporate way. We have our own way of doing things, these informal things. You know what? They're going to do it anyway. I'd rather pay attention to what they're saying informally and formally than to ignore one of those meetings because one of them can bite you in the back. So be careful about the aspect. The grapevine benefit, it actually, if you run it right, if you put your input into the grapevine, you can help improve the corporate culture. It can relieve anxiety because you can send messages out that way. And really, it's a good way to bond between people. So crossing barriers of communication, decide on or if you'll use the grapevine. I believe in using it on a regular basis. Men and women, no matter what happens, they still communicate differently. The workspace plays a role in successful communication, and active listening will always be in style. Take care.